Hi, this is Ashley Gaska, and today I wanted to demonstrate to you how to prepare for the reading comprehension quiz on dark tourism. The first thing you need to do is go to the course landing page by clicking on the image that says English 1. Now, presumably, you've already completed everything from Module 1, as well as your pretest. So, we don't need that anymore. We're going to collapse it to get it out of the way. So now we are beginning here, Everyday English 2, Module 2, and you'll see it has our tasks here. So we're not going to go automatically to the assignment because we don't know what to do yet. And to learn what to do, we have to read through the module. So I'm going to click the first button because that's how I'm going to access my lessons. So, dark tourism. In the next activity, you will read an article about tourist destinations that are popular because of the dark nature of their existence. This trend in visiting places marked by tragedy or serious events is called dark tourism. Watch the video to learn more. Now, I'm not going to watch the video with you for this video. That is up to you to go back, watch the video, take notes, and so on. Now, let's look at the RAPS method, R-A-P-S, for open response. So when you take your quiz, you're going to be asked to use the RAPS method to respond to a question. So in this response, you're going to answer the question and provide evidence or examples to support your answer. So let's look at this graphic to help us understand what is the RAPS method. So first, R is for restate the question in your answer. A is answer the question completely. P is prove your opinion with evidence or examples, and S is sum it up with a call to action or a closing idea. Let's take a look at this example. Should the number of tourists be limited in historically significant cities? This is how to use the RAPS method. So first, we're going to R, restate. Should the number of tourists be limited? The number of tourists should or should not, depending on whatever your answer would be limited in historically significant cities because, and then whatever reason it is that you want to use to support your answer. So you would list your reasons, and then for these reasons, the number of tourists should or should not be limited in historically significant cities. That would be your closing sentence. So we have the R, where you restate the question, the A, where you answer it, the P, where you prove it with evidence or examples, and then S, where you summarize whatever your point was. So now, let's see what we have to do for the quiz. Download and read the attached article about how various locations linked to tragedy and serious events are gaining popularity as dark tourist attractions. When you have finished the reading, click Start to begin a quiz that will measure your understanding of what you read. Note, you may use the text for help when you are completing the quiz. That means feel free to have the text open while you're working on the quiz. Be sure to answer the open response question in complete sentences using the RAPS method that we just talked about, that you learned about in the previous lesson. Now, this part is really important. Before you start the quiz, you need to go down to where it says attachments, because otherwise you don't have the article that you need. So we're going to open this article by clicking it and saving it. And now we could see it. It is a 2-page article, well, more like 1.5 pages because we have one full page and then half of a page. So when you're reading the article, one thing I recommend doing is writing down important ideas. So let me write directly on the screen. So I'm going to underline things that I would probably write down if I were taking notes on this quiz. In the fall, people often seek out scary things. Some can be casual and festive, like a haunted corn maze. Others are more serious, called dark tourism. Dark tourism is largely defined as traveling to places of tragedy or somber events. The term is not yet in the dictionary. So I'm doing this with my trackpad, so please forgive it being a bit messy. Something I would probably write down is the definition of dark tourism. It is sometimes claimed that one element that unites all dark tourism is that it has, in some way, to do with death. Peter Hohenhaus, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry, said. He is the founder of darktourism.com. It is a guide to dark tourism destinations all over the world. He said, not all dark tourism sites are necessarily linked with death. Some of the most popular dark tourism sites in the world include the Auschwitz death camp in Poland. So I might underline that as an example of dark tourism. That is where Nazis murdered millions of Jewish people during World War II, in what we know as the Holocaust. Another popular dark tourism site is Alcatraz Island in California. It is a former prison island near San Francisco. So those are two examples of dark tourism. You may want to visit a dark tourist site to learn about its history or for the sake of its darkness. Whatever your reason is, it's important to mind your manners. Here are 3 things to consider when traveling to dark tourist sites. So I think mind your manners. So basically, be polite. It's not about enjoying yourself as a tourist. It's about respecting the history of the place. Do not touch gravestones at cemeteries. Most common spooky activity in the fall is the cemetery visit. October is high seasons for places like Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Established in 1849, the cemetery is in Sleepy Hollow, New York. Sleepy Hollow welcomes tourists. However, it asks them to be respectful when they visit. We encourage visitors to act as if they had family members of their own buried here, Christina Orban LaSalle said. She is the cemetery's director of visitor services. So basically, don't touch gravestones, be respectful. Learn about religions outside of Hollywood. What you think you may know from movies and folklore is probably not the true story. Learning about the history of places you visit can help you be more sensitive to other culture. Sydney Smith's company offers haunted history tours in New Orleans, Louisiana. A lot of customers who come often expect something scary. However, their voodoo tours are educational, and people will learn about the history of voodoo. The tour guides explain before going on voodoo tours that they are not scary. Smith's guides try to make up for inaccuracies in pop culture. Movies and books often give people the wrong idea. Smith said it is their duty to teach people the real history of the voodoo religion. Voodoo is still a real religion that is practiced every day, she said. So, if the place you are visiting for dark tourism involves a religion, make sure you learn about the religion outside of the sensationalized Hollywood way. Think before you take a selfie. Places like Salem, Massachusetts have dark histories. Salem is known for its witch trials between 1692 and 1693. Many people were accused of practicing witchcraft. Now, the town of 42,000 attracts up to 1 million tourists in October. Such places of tragedy with dark histories require respect, and it would be best to think before you take a selfie. Hohenhaus asked visitors to treat such places with respect. It is different from a touristy beach. Dark tourism and wielding selfie sticks do not happily go together, he said. So think before you take a selfie. Some of the advice. It's really important to understand that most people behave appropriately, said Paweł Sawicki. He is a press person for the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum in Poland. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. It is the site for Europe's most widely known death camp and also one of the most popular dark tourism destinations. This is not just a museum or an open-air site, Sawicki said. He added that people are visiting the site where millions of people were killed. Every year, 2 million people visit the concentration camp, and about 80% of them are on a guided tour. It's almost a 4-hour experience. The faces of people when they start are very different from the faces when they leave, Sawicki said. So basically, if you're going to a place where a lot of people suffered, it's not really polite to take a selfie. So they discourage something like that in a place that should be treated with somberness and reflection. So if we were to summarize this article in just a few words, what would we say? What is the purpose of the article? What does the author of this article want people to know about dark tourism? Also, what do you think about dark tourism in general? Do you think that people should go to these locations for tourism? Do you agree with the protocols that are listed here about not touching gravestones, learning about religions, thinking before you take a selfie, or do you disagree and think that some of these things are harmless? Well, whatever your thoughts are, I recommend keeping the article open and going back to begin your quiz. Now, as you'll see, you have 2 attempts to take this quiz. So make sure that you work hard and try to do it to the best of your ability for each try, because you only get 2 attempts. Also, plug in your device before you start so that it doesn't accidentally die on you. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope that this was helpful, and have a great day.